Great. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our fourth and final session of the Broan EDGE launch webinar. Welcome back. If you've been here before, we appreciate you all taking the time out of your day to join us. Today, you'll get an inside look at our new compact ERV, specifically designed to provide exceptional performance without compromise. This product is set to be available this coming October. So we do have the Q&A feature enabled for this webinar. So feel free to drop any questions you may have throughout the webinar in that section. We will go over the presentation for about 40 minutes and then leave about 20 minutes at the end for questions. So again, please feel free to use that feature. And then without further ado, I introduce our Fresh Air System Group Product Manager, Travis Rash, who will lead this webinar and introduce the new Broan EDGE. So thank you, Travis. The stage is yours.
All right. Thanks, Paige, for the introduction. As Paige mentioned, we'll use the Q&A function. I'll keep an eye on it as well if there's questions related to maybe what's on that slide or even a previous slide. I will take the opportunity to answer it then. Hopefully, we can use information on that slide to help clarify the question. Again, this is intended to be very interactive. We've had some great sessions up to this point. Again, a lot of interaction. Again, we're here to provide you guys any information you need, whether it's for this new Edge product or certainly any of our current products within the Broan lineup. So again, for those that aren't familiar with Broan-NuTone, we have a full suite of ventilation products, anything from our exhaust ventilation, which includes spot ventilation, continuous run fans, as well as light commercial offerings, our kitchen ventilation, set of products, again, a number of different styles, number of different sizes, finishes, number of different applications in which they can be used for. We have our supply ventilation. So if we're, again, that first kind of introduction to introducing outside air into the home, as well as balanced ventilation, which will be the focus for today's session with the new Broan EDGE ERV. As Paige mentioned, again, the main theme here for the new Broan EDGE is compact without compromise. So as you can imagine, we are looking at a low-profile design, low-profile form factor, mainly to fit in those maybe ceiling bulkheads if you're in like a multifamily application, or simply just take up less space overall for the multitude of different applications and install orientations that this new product has. So again, low profile, meaning less than 10 inches in height. Again, some of the key feedback we heard from the field is making sure that we stay under that 10-inch mark. Again, just to fit in those tighter ceiling bulkheads as an example to both minimize the impact of the ERV, but also maximize the ceiling heights in those types of dwellings where, again, ceiling heights can be a challenge. Just like our other products, meaning our AI series products, our Broan 1, this new Edge product will utilize the same PM, SM, ECM motors. What that does is not only is it energy efficient operation, but also provides the ability for the product to be dialed in 1 CFM increments. So in the case here, you can go from 30 CFM all the way up to 120 CFM in those 1 CFM increments, allowing you to adjust this product, again, depending on the application. If you have a multitude of different floor plans, like in a multifamily application, floor plan A is this certain square footage, or this number of bedrooms, and floor plan B is different, you still have the ability to specify that same SKU and dial those CFM requirements in. You're not stuck with maybe a low and a high or low, medium, high speed settings. You can dial that in as you see fit, utilizing that integrated LCD screen there you see kind of in the middle of the product. Infield selectable airflow configuration. This is a feature we launched with our Broan 1 launch back in 2024. I'll go through a little bit more detail on what this all means. Main takeaway is it allows for additional flexibility, both from a design standpoint, but also from a distribution standpoint to allow for a single SKU to accommodate mirrored floor plans or just make easier duct routings in general. Any climate ERV. So we realize as we serve the North American market, there are obviously varying climates, whether you're in Miami, Florida, all the way up to the greater north in the province of Canada. We have a number of different climate conditions that we've got to be concerned with and ultimately deal with. And the new EDGE ERV is truly an all climate ERV. And again, I'll share some more details on what exactly that means. Filtration. So you do see maybe something a little bit unique to other products, whether it's ours or other out in the market. You see those two black, what we're calling filter access doors. Behind those access doors in the door panel are filtration. The unit comes with washable 20 PPI filters, and then it also have the ability to install a optional MERV 13 filter if you need a little bit higher level of filtration for that outside air. Just like all our other products in the lineup now, the new EDGE will feature our virtual technology. Again, for those that are familiar, again, just same type of user interface that you're doing today, same benefits of virtual. For those that aren't familiar, we'll present more information on virtual and kind of the key benefits that it provides. And then finally, the new EDGE models will be fully compatible with all our existing wall controls, whether that's the main wall controls or any of our auxiliary boost override controls. All low voltage connections. Again, if you're wiring up any of them today to any of our other products, same amount of wires, same connections. So again, just a seamless experience for those that are already interacting with our products today to this new Broan EDGE product offering. So starting off, I'd mentioned that design for any climate. We realize there are a number of code requirements, particularly again in those northern climates, whether it's throughout Canada or in the states of like Minnesota, where there are certain HVI certified data that's required, and that's at that -25C or -13F, depending on what side of the border you're on. These new products will have those HVI certified rated points. I will mention these products are already on the HVI certified directory. And as Paige mentioned, we'll be launching these in October. So again, if you're in that specification stage in that project, again, you will have access to all that HVI certified data now, as well as the specification sheets that can be found on the product web pages. With those cold climates, do know that the product has an automatic defrost operation, so no intervention required externally. The unit is monitoring those incoming outdoor air conditions and making the right decisions to properly defrost the product, and not that we have damage or any other undesired condition happen with those cold climate applications. You do see the counterflow recovery core, so that basically off-white, I'll say yellowish rectangle shown there in this rendering. That is the recovery core. It's using what's called a counterflow technology or counterflow design. So you can see how, if we look at those arrows moving to and from the outside and from the inside, how the air passes through that recovery core. What this does is the recovery efficiency of recovery core truly comes down to contact time and surface area. And by going to a counterflow design, we're increasing that surface area, as well as increasing the contact time in which those two airflow streams have to interact with one another in their given air channel passages. And so again, you're going to see we're able to achieve, even in this very compact platform, high sensible recovery efficiency, as well as those necessary SRE, whether it's 55% or 60%, depending on where you're at, which a quota is required at those cold temperatures. So again, these are already HVI certified. You'll be able to get access to this data again, whether it's on the directory or on every your spec sheets. So do know that this new platform, again, was truly designed for the complete North American market. Again, whether you're in the extreme hot climates or in those extreme cold climates, like the values you see here. Unmatched versatility. And so when we look at different applications, again, the EDGE is no different than some of our other products in that it can be mounted in a door up configuration or a door down, shown like here in this application where the product is physically above a ceiling assembly. And again, access door, again, it could be in a bathroom, could be in a hallway, multitude of different other places that this could be installed. Again, nothing really undifferent than what's being done out in the market today. And again, that compact platform that we're talking about here may lend itself to other areas in which it can be installed. Wall mount. So again, maybe you got a basement application or a mechanical room application. It can get physically mounted to the wall like you show there. One key thing I will mention is the LCD screen and ultimately those filter doors do have to be mounted in the orientation which it's shown here. We do have that verbiage as well in the install manuals. But again, we will want to ensure that it's installed in this manner. Again, the ability to mount it to a wall, maybe you can get it tucked up higher on the wall to allow additional storage below, or maybe you got like what's shown here in that water heater example. Again, being able to get that unit mounted up high so that, again, you can maximize space below the unit while still getting access to what you would need from a service and maintenance standpoint. A true differentiator for this new Broan Edge platform is the ability for it to get mounted in this vertical orientation, meaning the ducts run vertically. You can see a great example there on where this could be advantageous. On the right side here, if you got a tight mechanical closet, you got a short return there, or even an open air return for that matter. You do have the ability to mount this new Edge platform in that vertical orientation, whether that's mounting it directly to the supply plenum, as an example, or additional structure within that mechanical closet. That is a very nice means of getting a nice tight packaged mechanical closet while still providing easy access to the ERV, again, whether it's for service or maintenance or just general commissioning and install. And the other thing to note too is you can kind of see, again, maybe depending on your door swing of that closet as an example, or maybe there's some other obstructions, you do have the ability to rotate the edge 180 degrees, meaning the outside air could be coming in from the left, up, or be coming in from that upper right portion. So again, depending on the application, depending on how it's installed, do know that you have that flexibility of having that outside air on that left or that right side. Talked about the beginning, compact footprint. So again, this is going to provide location flexibility. Maybe you got a 24-inch deep closet as an example. Because of the size of the product itself, you do have that ability to put it into those types of tighter applications. You can see in the upper right here the actual basically external dimensions of the housing itself. And what this allows for is ultimately a total reduced install cost. And so if you're using one of our Broan 1 models as an example today, or you're utilizing other products out in the market, and if you're having to put them above an access door, I should say behind an access door, typically you're going to be looking at a 24-inch wide by 36-inch access door, again, for like our Broan 1 model. But now with the reduced footprint of this Edge model, you can get that access door down to a standard 30-inch by 22-inch access door. Ultimately, that lends itself to overall reduced total install costs, because not only is the product going to cost less, the Broan Edge product going to cost less, but also that access door is also going to cost less. At least that's the difference that we see. Is, again, makes logical sense. We have a physically smaller door, and again, those typically cost less. Craig, I do see you got your hand up. Please use the Q&A function to ask your question, and we'll answer it accordingly, because I believe everybody's muted except for myself at this time. Dimensional overview, certainly not going to go through every dimension there. Again, do know that our spec sheets are already out on our product pages, as well as at the end of this presentation, I'll share a QR code in which you can scan and get direct access to all the technical documentation you would need. A couple things to point out here. We do have, you can see in the upper right corner here, that LCD screen that's integrated in the product. Across the top there, you see your low voltage connections, and that green rectangle there is actually the connection block. And you can route your low voltage wiring. There's kind of openings on the upper corners of that screen opening. And there's a large opening in the housing itself, or I should say just like compartment in the housing, in which you can route your wiring to, and then make your connections accordingly. Down below that connector block, you see that LCD screen interface. So in this case, we're seeing the 110 CFM on both the supply and the exhaust side, as well as to the right of that screen, you have your buttons you're going to push to fully commission the product, make any changes you would need to the configuration of the product. And then finally, you can see just above to the right of those buttons, that red switch, and that's for our infield selectable airflow configuration, again, which I'll cover a little bit here shortly. And then just below that, you see that LED indicator light. So that will illuminate if there's any maintenance or filter maintenance required. That's going to illuminate And depending on what the error is or the filter maintenance required, that's going to have a blink sequence accordingly. Down below that screen, you will see we do have two electrical connection options for these models. You have our power cord. So the unit will come standard with a 6-foot, 3-prong power cord, standard power cord, or we also have a hardwired version that you would be able to route your wiring to. And then there's a nice little panel on the front door surface that you can unscrew and get direct access to make those electrical connections, and then put those connections back behind in that compartment and close up that compartment so that you are fully code compliant when it comes to the electric codes. For those that are familiar with our Broan 1 model, just providing a high-level overview of the dimensional differences between them. So looking at the new edge across the top, and then the existing Broan 1 platform below, you can see kind of duct end to duct end. We're just under 4 inches in reduced length, as well as you can see the width there, again, just under 2 inches in reduced width, and then basically the same in the height side of things. Just like the Broan 1 comes with, the Edge models will also come with fully adjustable brackets. So depending on where you need to mount between, or maybe different orientation, do know the unit comes standard with the mounting brackets. And like I said, there's a number of different areas in which you can mount those brackets to orientate the unit as you need for your application. Service made easy. So I highlighted on that first slide. Again, you have those access doors integrated into the unit, so you can perform the filter maintenance on that quarterly schedule without having to take the door off, or like our other models, we have to swing the door off or open it and then swing it off. You can simply, there's basically locking tabs on the top and bottom of each of those access doors. Simply depress those, and you are able to rotate those access doors out of the way. And you can see there's a slot there integrated in the unit housing that you're able to pull that filter out, wash it under like a low pressure water source, aka like a faucet, or maybe you got a bucket of water, wash that dirt debris out and let those filters dry, shake them out, let them dry, put them back into the unit, put those access doors back on, turn the unit back on and let it go. So again, much more consumer friendly. And again, it also allows, when you think about the applications, you think about the clearance required, it may open itself up to even more locations because you're not having to worry about the swing access that you would on maybe some of the competitor models out in the market. Again, you just simply need access to those filters to perform that filter maintenance and be able to, again, make that quarterly maintenance schedule easier. If and when you do have to get in to the rest of the components, meaning the recovery core, the blower fan motors, electronic assembly, anything else that would need to be serviced, there are fasteners along the perimeter of the door panel, as well as there's 2 fasteners around the screen. And if you have a hardwired model, that fastener for the access panel there, you remove those, and then basically the steel panel as well as the insulation panel basically get pulled off directly, and then you can get full access to anything you would possibly need within that opening, and be able to, again, adequately service the product from within that door opening. Craig, I did see you put your question actually in the chat, so let me go to that quick and see if it's relative to what's on the screen here. So being in a small mechanical closet, we receive calls where there are hard elbows direct off the units, causing airflow and related error codes, i.e. blower drive feedback when times at the plenum or are too close, space challenges. Will these units have a similar potential issue? Craig, I guess somewhat to answer your question, again, the expectation with this unit being, I'll dive back a couple just to refer to what you're seeing there. Kind of diving back to your question, and again, these units will have lower CFM output than some of our current models. So managing expectations there, do know, obviously realize, any additional elbow or number of elbows for that matter, or lengths, will certainly reduce your airflow output. So again, be mindful when you're in that design phase. Not that you're expecting in this type of like application, get the full 120 out of it. Again, be looking at the fan curve charts, understand what additional static pressure you're going to be adding to the system by having those types of designs, and just manage expectations when it comes to that overall CFM output of the product. We obviously we're showing it here. We've done validation testing of this type of configuration, making sure if we're going to have those immediate elbows or number of elbows, etc., that and I'll highlight it during the virtual piece of this presentation. Again, we're fully mindful that, again, we're showing it here. And so we've done the validation testing to ensure that we limit some of that feedback that you provided, Craig, in your question there. Hopefully that answers your question. Jump forward here back to kind of where we left off. So again, service made easy. You can see the access doors there. Again, consumer friendly, as well as if and when we've got to get to those key components for service, you do have the ability to do so by removing that door completely. Do note with this type of design and how we're using the insulation, basically that foam shell, we are able to upgrade the service interval for the recovery core. And so instead of that typical 1 year service of a recovery core like we have with a multitude of our other products, as well as other products out in the industry, because of this design and how we're going about with the recovery core design, we will now go to a 3-year service requirement for that recovery core. So instead of the typical 1 year where we need to be vacuuming off that recovery core and removing that debris, with the Broan Edge models, we will now go to a 3-year maintenance interval for that recovery, as well as due to the materials in which the recovery core is made out of, we will actually be able to fully wash this recovery core. You could use a tub of water. You could, honestly, I've seen people use bathtubs in the past with HRV cores to wash them. Even with this being an ERV recovery core type, with this new design, you have the ability, again, every 3 years is what we're requiring for that recovery core to physically be washed. Again, do yourself a favor, vacuum off all the big debris first, using like a soft brush attachment on a vacuum. And then you are able to fully submerge this recovery core, like I said, tub of water or a bathtub, whatever you want to use. We don't want any high pressure sources. Certainly don't want a pressure washer or even like your garden hose with the higher like jet setting. Again, submerge it. You'll see in the maintenance video that's going to be released here shortly how I demonstrate how to properly wash the recovery core fully. Again, use the ability to rotate it, get as much water out as possible before letting it sit and dry, and then ultimately put back into the unit. So Sabina has a question. Does the service door swing open or pull off? Great question, Sabina. It simply pulls off. So you remove those fasteners that I mentioned before, and basically there's a flange, flanges all the way around the interior perimeter of the door. You can use that flange and basically just pull it directly. Behind that steel door panel is the insulation panel. That again just sits inside basically the perimeter of the housing. And you basically just carefully pull that off, and then you can get to exactly what I'm showing here on the lower right screen in this rendering. So that's basically what you would see once you pull that door off directly. Hopefully that answers your question, Sabina. All right, moving forward, infield select airflow configuration. So talked about it a little bit before. You see something just came into the Q&A. We'll see if it's relative. Does the unit have temperature and humidity lockouts? Craig, to answer that question, not humidity necessarily directly with the unit. The temperature, we are sensing temperature around the clock. That is mainly for our defrost operation. But if you pair, Craig, this unit with our any of our main wall controls, whether it's our V-Auto, which will sense outdoor temperature, and alter if you're in the automatic mode with that wall control, it'll alter the ventilation rate and time. If you're using our touch screen, our V-Touch wall control, it also has what we call smart mode. So it's looking at the outdoor temperature coming into the unit, as well as the indoor relative humidity percentage. And similarly, it will use that smart mode to alter the ventilation rate as well as the ventilation time. So in a roundabout way, yes, we do have temperature and humidity lockouts. It's not done solely at the product. It's a combination of the product as well as the wall control. And then if you're using our dehumidistat main wall control, again, it'll be monitoring indoor humidity and altering the ventilation rate and time to hit that, whatever that relativity percentage you have set at that dehumidistat wall control. So again, not directly within the unit itself. Again, it's going to take as well for that humidity component, a external wall control, and any of those I just mentioned are compatible with the Broan Edge. All right, jumping back to the infield selectable airflow configuration. So as I mentioned, this is a feature we launched back in 2024 with our Broan 1 model. Has gone over quite well in the market. It truly solves a problem. And you can kind of see that problem here with the image that's currently shown. So we've got a mirrored floor plan. This one happens to be mirrored across a shared wall assembly. We found the right location for the ERV, like shown in that left plan there. I'll just call it floor plan A for the sake of this discussion. Perfect spot for the ERV to be physically located. You can see there the ductwork's nice and clean. If we try to get that same unit, meaning the same SKU number in that same location, because we've now flipped the floor plan across that shared wall assembly, you can see how messy that ductwork gets because we're trying to rotate everything 180 degrees. Again, this is not friendly from an install standpoint. You're likely going to have poorer performance because of the number of additional bends we've introduced into that ductwork. Again, and we're going to have likely ductwork overlapping one another. Just not a fun situation for anybody involved. Just complicates life in general. With the integrated switch, we highlighted earlier that red switch that's on that integrated LCD screen area of the product. You can keep that same SKU number, you can keep that same location, and simply moving that switch from one side to the other, you have the ability to then basically replicate that ductwork routing you had in floor plan A, now in floor plan B. And again, keep everything one and the same and just simply move that switch. So we're truly simplifying that product location. So we're not having to find a different location. Again, we're likely constrained on where we can put the ERV is in the first place. And so we're able to keep that ERV location in the same spot, which is convenient. Model specification, so our ERV schedules are not going to get complicated because we can keep one SKU number between floor plan A and floor plan B. So our schedules become simpler. Ductwork routing, again, you can see the stark difference between these two images. I certainly wouldn't want to try to install in floor plan B with everything rotated 180 degrees. That doesn't look fun to me, doesn't look fun to have on the plans. And like I said, likely going to deter our performance. And then finally, that install configuration. So depending who that installer is, again, somewhat rinse and repeat. What you did in floor plan A can be more easily replicated in floor plan B. Again, things pretty much stay the same between those two floor plans. Again, rinse and repeat repetition. If you've got a large multifamily dwelling, you get multiple hundreds of units. Again, you kind of just get this easy to go, floor plan A, floor plan B, C, etc. is just going to keep, just make life simpler. So something I'll mention on this call, I don't like to say it too often, not to pick on contractors, but 5 o'clock on a Friday, maybe think other things are on your mind at that time. It's time to get ready to relax, enjoy the weekend. Do know, not if, but when this indicator switch, the red switch there, isn't properly put in the right spot. Our product is smart enough, for lack of a better term, to sense what the actual outdoor air condition is and ultimately make the internal adjustments accordingly to continue to operate in which the way it was meant to operate. Again, I'm not encouraging anybody to not set the switch in the right location. I'm simply letting everybody know not if, but when that switch isn't properly put in the right position. The product does have the integrated intelligence to detect what the actual outdoor airflow is and make those adjustments accordingly inside. I see Kenneth did ask a question. In higher humidity regions, what percentage does the ER dehumidify the incoming outside air? Great question, Kenneth. You will see on, and this is not just this particular product or any of our products, there is a value called latent recovery moisture transfer. That is LRMT. That is the actual value measured in HVI certification conditions that provides the ratio, or basically, I'll just say the ratio of the latent transfer that's going to occur between the outside air, and it's going to utilize that inside conditioned air to remove a certain amount of the incoming latent. I do highlight it later in the discussion here, and I'll plug it now as well. We, Broan, have a online performance calculator tool. It's free. Simply just need a email and a password set up. You can input into that tool the real world conditions for your given location, as well as your given indoor conditions you want to maintain. And it'll provide you the actual basically change in from the outside supply air to what the post ERV air conditions are going to be. So you'll be able to see that latent reduction, the humidity reduction within that calculator tool. It does depend on your airflow. It does depend on what your outdoor conditions are, what your indoor conditions are, because we're relying on delta, or the difference between the outside air conditions and the indoor air conditions. But again, I would, if you got something specific, a certain scenario you're looking for, again, I'll plug it here towards the end of the presentation. Leverage that online performance calculator tool that can be found on our website. And like I said, you'll get real world data in those given conditions so that you can see what that actual reduction in latent is because it's passing through that energy recovery core. I will also note, just again, I saw the word dehumidify. Do know a ERV is not a dehumidifier. It does not actively dehumidify the interior space. As Kenneth mentioned, it's going to reduce the incoming latent that would be coming from the outside air by utilizing the conditioned air from the inside it's pulling. So again, I'll highlight the performance calculator tool again. Again, it's a fantastic tool, lets you really get a true known value that you're going to see in your given conditions. Again, great question, Kenneth. I appreciate those types of things. Looking at the Q&A, so we did answer that one from Kenneth. Craig, can the exhaust fan or supply fan be turned off without turning off the entire unit? Only one of the fans, aka basically only one of the fans operating. Craig, the only time that would happen currently is if you have when we're in defrost. So if the outdoor air conditioning gets to a point that we've set temperature limits for, we're going to actively turn off the supply fan during that defrost time. It's not something we're going to be able to do externally, in that we're not going to be able to turn off the exhaust or the supply independently. It's simply just going to be during that automatic defrost operation. Not sure if this is exactly where you're going, Craig, but do know if you have the desire to independently change the supply airflow rate and the exhaust airflow rate, meaning you're going to unbalance the product intentionally. I have had applications where we're trying to maybe produce a little bit of makeup air, or maybe try to provide using a positive pressure on the envelope. You do have the ability to independently change the supply air and the exhaust air CFM output in both the minimum, medium, and maximum CFM settings. You do have the ability to do that via that LCD screen and the related buttons. You don't have to have any additional external controls. There is a section in the install manual that runs you through that process, as well as we'll have video content on that as well. Again, it's something you can do without any external needs. You can do it via that LCD screen and buttons. And like I said, we run you through that on how to do that. So again, can't directly turn off each fan independently, but again, if you do need to, again, operate the airflows at a different CFM value, you do have the ability to do so, and the unit will maintain that as well. Craig also asked, again, great questions. Is the unit plenum rated? I'm going to, Craig, I'll reach out to you separately. I don't want to make a comment here there are different nuances that I need to be, basically we need application specific to answer that question. I understand where the question's coming from, why it's coming from. So Craig, I'm going to reach out to you separately, and let's get a better understanding of your application so I can answer that properly. I don't want to lead anybody down the wrong path here and make a generalized statement. All right, that's awesome. We're getting this type of interaction. Looks like there is. All right, we are good. All right, so let's keep going here. So next, technology, and again, this is something that has been applied since 2020 with our AI series products that launched during that time. Virtual technology. Virtual is, again, something we launched in 2020 with our AI series products. We've continued that in our Broan 1, as well as we're continuing at that with these new Broan Edge models. Virtual technology is really three key things. The first is during that commissioning process and ultimately during the operation is our auto balancing. And so this virtual technology is going to automatically balance the airflows. You will not be required to maybe use any kind of tools to commission the product or make any external adjustments. All of the commissioning is going to be done at that LCD screen with those related buttons. So the first time this unit gets powered on, it's going to provide to you what the maximum CFM the unit can achieve is, given the ductwork route and the application. It's going to provide you that max CFM. One of the two house icons is going to be flashing along with that CFM value so that you know if it's the supply air or the exhaust air stream, that's the more restricted of the two. Again, maybe you're expecting a higher number, you need a higher number, and it's flashing a significantly lower number. You can then diagnose, again, whether it's the supply air stream or the exhaust air stream being indicated via that icon. You can then diagnose that airstream. Again, maybe you've got termination that's closed, or again, something unintentional that has happened, or the ductwork is just too constricted, or maybe there's a different restriction there. Virtual is going to let you know on that screen right away. You can make those adjustments accordingly. And then once you have set your CFMs during that balancing process, the virtual is going to continue to maintain those CFMs that were set. So it truly self-adjusts, detects changing conditions. Maybe the outside air filters becoming clogged over time, maybe lack of maintenance or other changes that have happened. Virtual is going to step in here and continue to detect those conditions and adapt in real time. We have built in additional forgiveness, for lack of a better term. So we will have the ability to overcome, again, some of those restrictions. Like I said, maybe supply air filters getting clogged up over time. We do have a little extra in the tank to try to overcome that. At some point in life, if that restriction becomes too severe, we will shut the unit down and provide an error code on that screen. So we do not want to harm any components of the product, or we will reduce the performance for a certain duration of time. And then ultimately, if that restriction, as an example, becomes too severe, we're going to notify via that LED indicator light that I mentioned earlier on, that's physically on the product. Or if you've got one of our main wall controls, you will have a LED indicator light illuminated on that as well. Or on the touch screen, you'll see that little wrench icon, kind of like a check engine light on your car or your truck. Similar process there. And then again, that self-adjusting piece, once balanced, always balanced. So whatever you left that job site, whatever you left that final install process to, whatever those CFMs were set to, the configuration was set to, it's going to continue to adjust in real time to always hit those set CFMs. Artificial intelligence, again, I know it's been obviously quite the hot word over the last, several years now. Something our engineering team has been working on since late 2016, early 2017, building out the neural network for this product to perform properly. Long story short, we have taught, for lack of a better term, the product through thousands of different scenarios. So if these external inputs happen, here's what the unit needs to do to get back to that balanced condition. In this case, there's always something we didn't account for that can happen in the field. That's where artificial intelligence comes in. Unit learns, builds out that neural network a little bit more. So if and when that condition comes up the next time around, our product is going to react more quickly than it did when it had to kind of learn through that condition in the first place. So again, constant adjustment given the conditions. This truly provides a peace of mind, whether it's for that specifying engineer who has specified a certain CFM or performance aspect of the product on their schedule. Installing contractor knows the quality work they did at the installation and commissioning process is maintained over the life. Builder's life, peace of mind is there. They put this piece of equipment in their product, and they want to make sure it provides those types of performance over the life of the product, the life of their home. And then finally, homeowner standpoint, again, they've got this product installed. It's providing better indoor air quality as a whole. They want to make sure it's going to take care of itself over the life of the product and, again, provide a more comfortable, better indoor air quality for their family and their living conditions. Looks like we have another question in the Q&A. Let's see here. All right, it just popped up. Okay, let's keep going here. Damper overview. So unlike our other current products in line, meaning our AI series product, our Broan 1 product that feature motorized dampers, this new Broan Edge will have gravity magnetic close dampers. This is something we've used in the past on other products, so nothing new necessarily. It's just due to the Edge being a more cost-conscious type product, the ability to go to these types of dampers compared to motorized does reduce the overall product cost. There are considerations to be had. So I haven't mentioned the model numbers yet, but again, we're going to have gravity dampers that have a magnetic close feature on them. So once they close, they stay closed until the unit turns back on. And again, that airflow blows those dampers back open. The BLP 130 model will have 5-inch ducts on it, and it will have these dampers included with the product itself. The damper basically sits inside the port of the product. And then you do have the ability, as you can maybe see, there's top engraved on the damper assemblies. You have the ability to rotate that, again, depending on what orientation you have it in, maybe it's door up, door down, or on a wall. You have the ability to rotate that damper within that duct assembly or that port assembly to the right orientation to make sure that gravity damper falls as we need it to. Again, we got to work with gravity. Gravity's got to be our friend in this case. With the BLP 120 models, that has a 4-inch duct, and we will offer optional damper kits that you can see the part number below there, that VBAC Draft 4. That comes in a pack of 2. So there are 2 dampers that are going to be required with the product. We will also be selling a basically what we call a bulk pack, come in kits of 24. So if a distributor wants to keep more on the shelf versus just buying by the unit, we will have that available as well. Some considerations. So I mentioned before, again, we got to make sure gravity's our friend. Got to make sure that damper falls and stays closed when we want it to be. So we talk about that horizontal, that wall mount. So again, door up, door down, or on the wall. Again, you have the ability to rotate those dampers to the right orientation. So again, that damper falls the way we want it to. If we go to that vertical install, that unique vertical install, we're going to have to remove, if you're using the BLP 130 models, you're going to have to remove those 5-inch integrated dampers, pull them out. They just slide out of the port, and we're going to have to put them in a horizontal orientation. And so whether that's in ducts, maybe that's somewhere else along the way, because we're trying to use gravity as our friend, we cannot have those, we got to have those dampers in a horizontal orientation. One other thing to note, and it's not really too prevalent, but it's something to mention, on the return side. So depending on how you're going to duct this, we're going to want to make sure our return static pressure maintains below that negative 0.15 of water column. If we get in a situation, again, this is all in the manual, and again, this is nothing new. If we get in that situation where our return static pressure is higher than that value, there is the ability to put a direct T connection in there. I should say indirect T connection in there to that ductwork, and basically reduce that overall return static pressure to be within that range. Again, nothing new. Like I said, we'll have the notes, more detailed notes in our manuals. If you want to either add an additional field installed motorized damper, or you do away with the gravity dampers as a whole, and you want to put in a motorized damper only on that supply air side, you do have the ability to do so. It's not something that I guess we Broan do offer motorized dampers like this type of configuration. The product has integrated connections to do. If you hook up the motorized damper, basically the contact closing of that motorized damper to both the R as well as that DPR connection on our Broan Edge product, the Broan Edge can dictate or will dictate when that field installed motorized damper opens and closes. The Edge will not provide the power required for that motorized damper to operate. We require, basically highly suggest the use of a 24 volt AC, normally closed spring return motorized damper. There's a bunch of them out there. It's, again, we're not asking for anything unique or different in order to operate this. Like I said, if you're using motorized dampers today for this, again, you likely already know what you need to do. And again, I'll stress it, that is only to be placed on the outside supply air to close off that outside supply air, again, as you see fit. So again, the Edge has the necessary connections there, as well as the necessary intelligence to operate that damper accordingly. Again, if you're going to install one separately in the field. Product specifications. So I mentioned we have two BLP 120 models. I'm not going to go through this entire spec table here. Again, the spec sheets are out on our website, as well as I'll have at the end here a QR code you can scan to get direct access to a bunch of other technical files. Again, these are all ERVs. We also have one BLP 130 model. That is a power cord. Again, I mentioned before, but the port dimensions are different between the 120 and the 130, 4-inch for the 120, 5-inch for the 130. And then below there, you can see the different CFMs, SREs, and everything else that will be required from a technical standpoint. And again, the last thing to stress here is the BLP 120 models. If you want dampers, and code likely requires you to have dampers, you can either purchase the optional 4-inch kit I'd mentioned earlier, or if you're in the BLP 130 model, you know that the unit will come shipped with those magnetic backdraft dampers that you have the ability to both rotate but also pull out if you need. And again, those are 5-inch in diameter. Here's that QR code I've been referring to throughout. So if there's any technical resources, meaning CSI documents, spec sheets, Revit files, that quick start guide, if you want to scan that, that'll take you to that link that's above there. And you can download basically everything in a nice little package for each of the models or whatever model you want. And you'll get all that access, or all that documentation all in a nice little zip file. And then again, use as you see fit. Again, the product pages for these models are live. So if you go on the Broan-NuTone website and type in any of those model numbers or even partial of those model numbers, they'll pop up. You'll see the full product page, images, again, all this technical documentation. Everything is there for you, and it's live now. Again, these products will be launching in October. We actually start production here in a little less than a month. And again, we'll start shipping product come October 5th. So if you got anything in the works, or maybe we've already got some pre-orders for these products, so just know, again, October 5th, we're going to start shipping them throughout North America. And like I said, production starting here shortly. Any questions? I know we had a ton in the Q&A and the chat function. That's fantastic. Anything else that comes to mind? We'll take the time now. We'll use the last 10 minutes or so. Went a little bit longer, but again, answered some questions along the way. Again, feel free, please use that Q&A function. We'll answer those accordingly. And as I mentioned, you saw my contact information at the beginning. I can reshare that, as well as, again, Craig, I'll reach out to you directly, and we can, again, have that conversation on that plenum rate portion that you had. I know you had a number of great questions, so again, we can connect after this as well. All right, looks like something came in. Let's do that. Sabina asks, since there's no motorized damper, are there any damper-related error messages for this model? Sabina, so no, not directly. If there is I'll say airflow-related error, meaning let's say that damper, whether it's a our gravity damper or a motorized damper somewhere else in the ductwork, the error that you're going to see is the airflow error, whether that's for supply or exhaust, meaning the airflows that were set are no longer achievable, which could be the motorized damper not functioning the way it was intended, or like I said, or a gravity damper not functioning the way it was intended. So there's not going to be a direct error code related to the damper. You're going to get basically a correlated or related error code for the supply airflows or those not being met. So that's the error code you're going to see. Great question. I know our current products have error code, directly error code related for those motorized dampers.